general and the action item being considered in particular. The 3-minute rule will be in effect. Members of the public are asked to remain quiet during the meeting to allow the board to conduct its official business efficiently and to refrain from making comments while other members of the public are addressing the board from the podium. Finally, meeting procedures are governed generally by Robert's Rules of Order, but the presiding officer may deviate from Robert's Rules of Order when necessary, convenient, or desirable for the efficient proceeding of the meeting. And also, finally, silence all cell phones and devices. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And comments on East Library Committee report?
Okay. I want to read the Northeast Library Committee mission statement. The Northeast Committee is convened to express the particular needs of the community, to the board for consideration into the design of the Northeast Library. The committee will begin its duties when a property is purchased, and its duties will end at groundbreaking. The Northeast Library Committee is the first committee of its kind. Normally, the library system hires a consultant. They go out into the community. They gather information from the community about population, citizens' needs, wants for their library, etc. The consultant brings the findings back to the Board of Control for a vote. Now, the Northeast Library will be a part of that process. The committee is waiting for information from our consultant, who is with 720 Design, that will help guide us in our next steps in the process. According to the timeline and mission statement, we are on schedule as we finalize the purchase of the land on May 23rd, 2024. We purchased a 6-acre lot located at the 100 block of Shadow Bluff Drive. The committee's first meeting was held on Thursday, September the 5th. Committee members were extremely disappointed that the consultant was not at our meeting. The first meeting was to feel each other out as far as our expectations and our role serving on the committee, introduce the committee members to the community, and to go over the timeline and the remaining budget for the Northeast Library project. The beginning balance for the project was $8 million. The current balance as of September the 5th was $7,603,408. The committee members were also disappointed that I did not have public comments listed on our meeting agenda. My understanding is that it is not mandatory to place the public comment on the agenda for an ad hoc committee meetings. I was going to allow public comment from time to time, depending on what would be on the agenda. I offered at least 4 ideas on ways as we as a committee could be effective with engaging and gathering information and input from the public about the library project. Committee members still insisted that it was important to have public comment on all agendas for our committee meetings, and I did say that if we are going to allow public comments, that they need to be respectful and not personal negative comments towards any committee member or board member. A vote was taken and passed by the 4 committee members present at the meeting, including myself. Our committee meetings have been set through November 2025. You can find that information on the library's website on the front page in the Northeast Library site and also under meeting documents. The next committee meeting is scheduled for October the 17th, and the consultant from 720 Design is able to attend that meeting. However, committee members did stress that they wanted to meet with the consultant as early as 2 weeks after our meeting. I did receive information from the consultants that they were available on October the 3rd or the 4th, and I am waiting for confirmation on a time. And I did ask if we could meet on October the 3rd instead of the 4th, because families have children who are in activities. That's a Friday. I would rather them be with their children. And that's about it. And I am waiting for, if the if the consultant did say they could be here on the 3rd, and if they could be here closer to 6 o'clock, which is our time for our meeting, 6 to 7:30, I would prefer that to give people an opportunity to be here at the meetings. Can you add to that, Mr. Delane?
The consultant on the 3rd would only be available between the hours of 9 and 3.
Okay. Then maybe you can ask them to, can they be here in person? Because I would really love for them to be here in person.
The consultant can't be here in person at that
Okay.
point. If the consultant comes in person, we're going to be paying to fly the consultant in.
Okay.
So for the committee meetings, for the most part, until the consultant starts up on her work, Zoom is probably our best bet.
Okay. Okay. But then we should shoot for the later time, 3 p.m. I guess I could get with you to work out the details and stuff. One last thing, I did want to thank one of my committee members because, like I said, I did offer ways that we could engage in the community. So I do want to thank Ms. Mary Liv Garcia because she did speak to the president of her organization and she agreed to carve out some time during their meeting so that she could speak about the Northeast Library project, get input from the community and bring it back to the board. She also expressed that she would meet people downtown when she was there for like art walk and engage with them about the library project. And I really do appreciate that because I hope you recognize the value in doing that. Because when they bring information to the board or to our committee meetings for the Northeast Library project, if they miss something, you can always add what you know from speaking with people in person. So thank you for that.
Who you said that was?
Miss Mary Liv Garcia.
I knew it. She's awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right, thank you, Ms. Ella. I'm gonna move on to facility updates. Joe?
All right, included in your packet is a facility update report for our major projects of the South Regional Library renovations. We met for a pre-construction meeting with the architects, engineers, and contractors, and we kind of discussed how to move forward, how the phasing might fall, potential schedules. Then a notice to proceed was issued from the Public Works Department on August 28th, which officially starts the contract time of September 3rd, 2024. I believe this contract has 360 or 390 calendar days to be completed. The contractor is currently finalizing shop drawings with the architects and engineers, and they're going to provide us with a schedule coming up in the near future. As it relates to the North Regional Library's renovation project, our architect is here tonight. This is an agenda item. Our architect's going to present the design development phase and estimated costs. We're hoping to get approval from you all to move into the construction documents phase. The construction document phase is the final phase before the project is bid out. As for the Northeast Library, I attended the committee meeting and provided budget and background information on the project and have been working with Danny and the consultant on coordination as far as obtaining information and scheduling. I've also worked with Xylo Architects in that manner and Public Works in that manner. As it relates to regular maintenance, these are some of the larger items that we've come across last month or this month. We replaced the condenser motor on condenser unit number 2 at the North Regional Library. The damaged fascia soffit at the East Regional Library were repaired. If you recall, that happened back in May with some of those rough storms we had. We identified a roof leak at East Regional Library that has returned. I'm working with the manufacturer of the roof. We were supposed to meet today. I haven't heard from them, so I guess we'll have to reschedule. but we are trying to track down what the cause of this leak is. We've addressed other leaks, but this one, it just keeps returning, and we're trying to figure it out. It's all being done under warranty, so doing what we can. Still pending repairs on window leaks at West Regional Library, got an estimate. Just waiting on the work to begin. We trimmed some trees at the South Regional Library that were becoming problematic. They were originally shrubs, and they've just gotten so large over the years, they started touching drainage, and we just got rid of them. They were just too big. Same at the main library here, we trimmed some parking lot trees. They were getting a little low, starting to touch cars in the parking lot. Some loose limbs, we wanted to limit the liability on that, so I had those trimmed. And then more recently in the teen area downstairs, there's a water line that is leaking. It's also pending repair. And here at the main library again, we have 2 windows leaking that are also pending repair. That's what I have for facilities.
Mr. Angel, seeing as your operations manager dealing with these kind of issues on a daily basis, I encourage you to be very vocal as the Northeast Library Committee meets, because your input, I think, is invaluable for our committee. If there's anything with your experience that is for lack of a better phrase, I'll say design flaw that's causing some issues,
Yeah.
we really want that information.
And the consultant will request information from the staff as well, and from LCG in general for any standards that are in place that we want to follow. So yes, I will definitely have input on that process.
And are we following the same model from all the other libraries built before?
In what sense?
And if we have these window leaks, a couple of the plumbing leaks, maybe it's something we can catch in the new build.
Yeah, we'll definitely do our best to alleviate a lot of maintenance issues.
And no flat roof.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And a financial report?
Yep. Okay, also included in your packet is the financial report. This report is for the current fiscal year 2024. The report was run on September 12, 2024. The current fiscal year runs from November 1, 2023 through October 31st, 2024. So we're approaching the year end here. Our purchases are slowing down, deadlines are in place. We're kind of wrapping up the fiscal year and then basically just finishing off what we've already gotten in the pipeline. As of September 12, 2024, our revenues were at $13.9 million and our expenses were at $10.2 million. And if you were to compare that to last year at this time, our revenues were $12.7 million and $9.7 in expenses.
We can hear from the director report.
Okay, so in the middle of August, we had our full staff meeting. That went well. In your packets, you have a library card. It's the local artist library card by Burton Duran. We do that the first week of September every year. Then the statistics, someone made a comment last month about the statistics. They are up to date on the website now. We were a little behind because we had changed some formats and some formulas. We have the bookmobile. It's been in the news a bit. We stopped running the bookmobile on September 6th. We have lost 4 of the 5 employees associated with the bookmobile. 2 went to the state library to become library consultants. The one who was newly to the bookmobile got a significant pay increase to go there. Having been a library consultant at the state library, it's a good gig. The other 2 staff members did not leave voluntarily, and that's all I can say about that. We are working on filling the librarian 3, who is in charge of outreach, and the librarian 2 for the bookmobile, and we have been interviewing for the library associate positions. As soon as we have someone in these positions, we will resume bookmobile services. We have been reaching out to some of the places that we serve, and we've been providing some alternative services, but it does not replace the bookmobile. So we are trying to limit the impact of not having a bookmobile, but it sort of is what it is. And that is all I have.
Can I ask a question? So, the reason that the bookmobile is not operating is not because we do not have funds to hire employees.
Oh, no.
Someone in the community had implied that that might be the reason that it wasn't running
No one
anymore.
implied that.
And I just
No,
wanted
that's
to clear the air. People talk about everything, you know, they say.
No, we have the money to hire the people, we just need the people.
Thank you. I just want that clarified.
Thank you, Mr. Danny. All right, we're gonna move to approve the minutes of August 2nd, August 5th, and August 14th of the special meeting.
Mr. President, for the Director Search Committee, I move that we approve those minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion in the second, any comments?
No comment.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, and the motion carries.
Mr. President, I'd like to motion that we approve the minutes of the August 5th, 2024 regular board meeting. Pardon me? And I'd like to also motion that we approve the August 5th, 2024 regular board meeting and the minutes from the August 14th, 2024 special meeting.
I second that. Any comments?
No comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, and the motion carries. On to new business, North Regional Library, asks our architect to come and present his actions towards that.
Very far. Thank you very much. I'm Glenn O'Shell with O'Shell Architects. Thank you all for having us tonight.
Welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Happy to present our design development phase as Larry suggested, Mr. O'Shell, I'll call it. This is the last phase of design. We have more, one of my partners who actually designed part of this building years ago always told me that construction really is the last phase of design.
Can you pick your mic up a little higher for us? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I always said construction is the last phase of design. But this is where we basically want to pull everything together, show you what all the ideas are, what the cost is. It's more technical than the previous design phase. And with your approval, and with some tweaks that we know we have to make, we'll move into the final construction documents and then get this thing ready for public bid. Okay? So let's walk through it. So this is North Regional Library over in the Cairnsville area. Building was built 23 years ago. We designed it, I don't know what's on the dates. And we had done a schematic design phase several months ago, a couple of years ago actually, to actually add on to the building. The board at that time decided that's not what they wanted to do. So we pulled back, reevaluated, and working with staff and Public Works, really what this amounts to is an interior renovation for the most part. And then some maintenance, which really revolves around mostly maintenance, with a few improvements around study rooms and a few other things. This is a site plan, and even though it's an interior renovation, I can really show what's happening. This is what we call the south parking lot, and it's in bad shape. We've had some subsidence, there's some drainage issues that have developed over the years. The whole area has really developed a lot, and things have, I think, shifted. This is the north parking lot that most people use. This is really the drive-up book service area. This is really the public area. So in our planning, what we're planning to do is, part of the delay in getting back to you is we had to get some soil tests. And what we found is this part of the parking lot really needs to be reconstructed. So our plan is to actually pull all of this out. By the way, we haven't really figured out exactly when, but as soon as we get this thing lined up, we'll work with staff. We're gonna close this library to do this renovation because it's walls and ceilings and air conditioning and electrical. So it's gonna have to shut down in several months. It's really the only way to do it. It'd be dangerous and it would take 2 years to do it if you had to do it at night and in between. So that's gonna happen also with these parking lots. So we wanna rebuild this one, take off the asphalt, get it all the way down to dirt, and basically rebuild it in concrete. We're gonna raise some of the side elevations here to help with some of the drainage issues that have cropped up over the years. On the north parking lot, it's not that, it needs help. It's not in like removal shape. So we've got a plan to do a chip seal process where they put basically a new sealer on top of it, give it a little more aggregate, and extend the life of it probably another 5 to 6, 7, 8 years. About like that. We will take an alternate price. We're going to suggest to actually remove the top layer of asphalt and put another coat of it. It's a lot more expensive, but we ought to consider it while we're doing it. And then on the building itself, it's not there are no flat roofs. Well, that's not exactly true. There's one little flat roof right here. We're actually going to get rid of that. And it's a shingle roof right now, and we're going to actually put a metal roof on it. It's done its time, and it's time to do it. So the board really wants to put a metal roof, and I think it'll look great. Okay, next slide. I'll give you all the, you can pass through all this handicapped requirements. This is actually a drone-based survey. Shows you basically the building. It's not really showing up tonight in the lighting. This is the parking lot, the building, and then the south parking lot. Okay. We're gonna flip through next. And please stop me with any questions. Okay, so this is kind of what I was just basically talking about. Floor plan of the library, rebuild the south.
Ms. Hodges, why are you on the south driveway? And I'm just curious, if it's a soil issue that's underneath it, is there a plan to, you mentioned something about the drainage, but is there a plan to put footings and or other kind of substrate underneath it in order to shore that up?
Absolutely. We're actually gonna take it all the way down to the dirt and then rebuild it back.
Okay, well, I know, my question was, what kind of dirt is underneath it, do we know?
Yeah,
I mean, did they have a clay pad, did they have sand underneath it, did they put a?
Honestly, couldn't tell you exactly. We did have it soil tested, so our civil engineer's not present tonight. He can answer all those questions if we have it.
I guess and getting to my point is that if this is falling apart, then there was some kind of problem that exists prior to it being laid down. We want to
Rectify it.
remediate that, yes?
100%, and we have soil tests to guide us.
Okay, and that was the point of the soil test, right? Great, thank you so much, I appreciate that.
Same thing on the north parking lot. It didn't prove to have those kind of problems. There's a couple of things we want to do. When we designed this thing, it's a bit counterintuitive. You actually drive through right here, and you have to take a wide right turn to get to the drive-through. It's just the way the site laid out. Typically want to do it the other way, but it is proved this is the driveway, and I won't get into too many of the details here, but the driveway proved to be a little bit too tight to be able to make that wide, so we're actually going to add a little bit of surface area to make it a little bit easier. Actually, it's right here, so we're actually going to back it up to get a little bit more space.
Can I ask
These
a
bigger
question?
vehicles to make that turn.
Can I ask a question? Why can't you reverse the way you go through the drive-through and come from this way going that way? Would that help alleviate the problem?
The design challenge with that is always when you want to have the driver's side at the building. So if you go this way, the driver's side would be.
Okay, you'd have to do like the bank does and put one of those things in. That's not big enough to put a book.
And you want a little stack space. So that's always. Okay, next. That's just more details of what we're going to be doing in our construction documents with handicap parking. Some standard details. Okay, next. Now we're starting to get into the building itself. This is some demolition that we're going to be doing, and you can see, because we're touching almost every corner of the interior of the building, we really do need to stop operations so we can get this done. guess three of the main purposes of the interior renovation. Well, there's more than that actually. But from a space utilization standpoint, we do have a meeting room. It's right at the front door, pretty typical. It's proven to not be large enough to house some of the activities that they have these days. By the way, this library is highly, highly used. I'm sure you guys, staff can help us understand that, but it's highly, highly used, particularly after school. So part of the plan, and forgive me for jumping around, but we are going to change the mechanical system. We're going to go to a VRF system, which you've done, I think, it's south. West. So the mechanical system's original equipment is timeless, served its useful life. So we're going to go with the VRF system, which is much more efficient and fits this use very, very well. We've used it in libraries before. When you do that, you don't really have these big mechanical rooms. That's a big mechanical room, and there's another one over here. And then this is the mechanical yard. You basically get rid of that need inside the building. So we're actually going to expand the meeting room into here. That was one of the things we designed when we first thinking about an addition. We're going to do a big meeting room. So this will solve that problem.
So real quick, so does that mean that slash area, that's the demo part?
That's a demo part, right? Yeah, yeah. All of this will become useful space in the meeting room. We'll redo the presentation wall, all of that. And there's another room back here that's a mechanical space that we're actually going to make an office space out of, because all that equipment can be pulled out.
How much additional square footage are we gonna pick up with those changes?
Thank you, Alan, that was my question.
That's a good question. Actually, useful space, it's probably about maybe 350, 400 square feet. Yeah, we're not actually adding to the building, but I guess we will. I hadn't thought about it like that. So that's the point of trying to make useful space out of it. We couldn't do it if we wouldn't be changing the mechanical system, so it sort of works itself out like that. The study rooms, I think the staff would say that's one of the main needs that they have for the kids to use for tutoring, studying, things like that. And we have two right now. And you'll see in the plan, we're going to tear apart a little bit of this space here and a little bit of the periodical area. We're going to make additional study rooms that have glass in front of them, but they're highly used and very much needed. We're going to change a little bit of the way people use copy machines, where that's located. And then from an electrical standpoint, all of the electrical, not all of it gets changed, but the parts of it that get changed basically just follow the mechanical changes. Plumbing, it's time to change the plumbing fixtures. I think they've had trouble with the battery operated auto flush items, so we're going to go with the hardwired. Just getting this thing up to speed. It's been quarter of a century just about.
Is the city recommending bringing that up to code, or just a suggestion from
On which?
on the plumbing and some of the?
It's all up to code, current code.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all up to current code. We're just going to make it. It's a maintenance.
Make it more efficient.
Make it more efficient. Make it better. Get it ready for the next 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all up to code. Okay, next. So that's again a demonstration of the demolition. These are pictures of the library as it currently stands. Not really too useful for tonight's purposes because it's a bunch of miniature notes to demonstrate the parts and pieces that we're taking out. And modifying this helps us make sure we're catching all of the items. Okay.
So real quick, like I see a lot of arrows pointing to the ceiling. Does that mean?
The ceilings are going to, for the most part, come down. We're going to strap up the lights. Strap up the air conditioning grills. We are going to keep the same grills, but we got to take the ceilings out, and I'll show you why, and replace them. It's mostly because of my cap. So this is a new plan, a larger meeting room. Right. 2 study rooms that are made, actually in another small little alcove space, but 2 study rooms. Another study room here that's really just wide open space that was used for the copy machines. And those copy machines are going to move, this is basically the circulation desk, because all of that's going to move to the center. And this is going to be copy and basically copy right at the entrance, because this is how everybody walks. This is the teen area, which will remain. We're going to put in a with glass partition. You still see what's happening in there, still walk around it and all of that. Give a little bit of space definition, like to have their own space. But not a separate room, never.
I'm just curious, the current meeting room, how many people does it hold? And when you do the demolition and open it up a little bit, how many more people will it hold?
Depends how we lay it out. Can you help me with that, Dion? Or are you? Dion? I didn't introduce ours, Kevin Hebert and Dion Sonnier, the two architect and interior designers from our office, sorry.
The library.
Could you please come up to the mic, because we record the meetings and it's hard to hear when people are speaking from the audience.
I don't really have a participant count. Depends on how they lay it out. If they lay it out with training tables in a row like a classroom or a larger conference room table. A lot of times they use a reconfigurable table, so it allows for more tables and more ways to lay it out. But I would imagine if we're looking at, 300 square feet more usable space, we could get, another 20 participants in there. So it really depends on the use.
I've used it before, it's like maybe 25 person max, it's like a quarter of the size of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a small classroom right now. So I guess we can add about 20%.
Yeah. Yeah, so there'd be a lot more flexibility and programming opportunities for us.
Thank you. Since I'm asking questions, can I keep asking questions? The metal roof, do we currently have libraries that have metal roofs, and how are those working?
Our West Regional and East Regional have partial metal roofs, but they also have partial flat roofs. So I've got no roof leaks at West Regional, but I've got roof leaks at East Regional
In the metal part or in
in the flat.
okay.
Yeah. So
And then I had one more question. Going back to your driveway.
Yes.
So you said that y'all would do something to extend the life of the north driveway 5 to 8 years. What's the cost difference between extending the life of it and then redoing it? And if you redo it, how long should that last?
That's an excellent question. I'll have my cost estimate up in a minute. To chip seal, which is really just a thin sealer on the, if you want to drill down to Division 32 down at the bottom. North parking lot resurface chip seal. Yeah, it's about $29,000 to $30,000.
Just to seal it, just to kind of
Just put a
repair it.
sealer on it, you'll have a fresh looking parking lot, it'll cover all those, asphalt cracks that you see everywhere, and give you that better life. The alternate that we're gonna propose is right here, is to actually pull off the wearing surface, the asphalt itself, and put new asphalt, and that's $155,000, or $117,000 more. So the difference is, $90,000.
if I may, we've already seal coated that parking lot twice.
Okay.
Have it? Yeah.
I mean, if we have it in the budget, and if that's the best thing to do, I'm asking for your opinion, Mr. Larry. I'm just giving you my comments, but I need your opinion. I wanna do this right. If we're gonna do this and spend money, let's do it. All right.
Well, we're gonna design it, and you can make that decision at bid time, we'll see how these numbers come in at, and so it'll be in the plans. It'll just be an all.
Maybe you shouldn't go to the meetings and say that they have enough money.
Like, if we do the alternate, how long does that last?
Well, if you did the alternate, it would basically be a whole new parking lot, so this
You mean the alternate as to like redo the whole thing?
correct.
How many years does that normally last?
Well, this was lasted 22, 23, 24, 25 years. You've had to reseal it a few times.
So what's the cost per year? That's the question.
Cost
Cost per year?
per year.
Yeah, so we're gonna spend $30,000 and get 8 years out of it, or we spend $180,000 and get 20 years out of it, which is cheaper? Because we're gonna reseal it, I gotta reseal it again in 8 years,
Or change the whole thing.
I'll change the whole thing. Well, that's true too, that's very big.
When we reseal the parking lot, what kind of interruption is that for the library?
Well, the library will be closed at that point.
So like every time you had to reseal
resurfaced it.
I don't know, I wasn't involved with that.
When we
We can't
resurfaced, I think they did one half of the parking lot one day and the second half, I think it had to cure for 24 hours. So it's about a day per side of the parking lot. It's not a huge interruption.
I mean, it's a real simple process, there's not a lot of instructions, we'll be cleaning it. And they put a real thin layer of hot asphalt and basically a little bit of aggregate on top of it and kind of push it all down. That's it. It's used a lot on rural roads, extends the life of things, because it costs so much money to rebuild roads. And it
Whenever
is-
you,
I'm sorry.
whenever y'all did like, have to repair the parking lot, how often did y'all have to do it? Like when you did it brand new,
Yeah.
how long did it take before we had to do any kind of repair on that north side parking lot?
I wasn't involved with any of those, so I don't know, I would imagine 10 years, 15 years.
I'd have to go back. I'm thinking 2015 was maybe the first year we resealed it. So 8 to 10 years, and then we did again, I don't know, maybe 2018, I don't remember.
And it cost about $30,000
It was
to.
20 to 30,000, something like that. Might have been around 17, 70. It's been a long time. I'd have to go back through my projects.
I'm just curious.
It's a good question. That's why we want to do it as an alternate, so we can see what the market tells us it costs, and if it's a good number, let's do it.
To rebuild, it's $8,850 per year. To resurface, it's $3,750 per year based on the number you get.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's more than twice as expensive to rebuild
Oh, yeah,
per year.
per year.
I knew that in my head. Doing the math.
So on the roof, is that our panel y'all are putting, we're looking at, or standing seam, or what are we looking at?
Standing seam, and I should have said that, yeah, it's an architectural standing seam roof, so we're not gonna have all these screws and fasteners up there to be exposed to the weather. Perfect, good point, definitely. Want to get back to the plan?
Yeah, just one more comment. Even if the parking lot was resealed again, that doesn't guarantee that the condition going long-term will last another 10, 20 years. There's no guarantee a chip seal will solve all your problems.
Yeah. Out there. Is that about right? That's the floor plan, so a little bit of interior work here. Throughout the whole building, new carpet, taking off some vinyl wall covering, fixing walls, painting walls, and a new ceiling in almost all of them. And you'll see why in just a minute when I show you the mechanical plan. Just blow-ups of what we're gonna be telling the contractors. So all of these drawings are gonna be continued to be developed, and they'll actually be in our final construction document drawings. None of this is terribly pertinent to tonight's presentation. I'll give you the bigger picture. We have door schedules, window schedules, and there's some of our roofing. There is a bit of an issue. This is the outdoor courtyard that comes out of the kind of the kiddie kaleidoscope area, and it's got some drainage issues. So we're going to address that by maybe taking that concrete out, because there's a nice catch basin here. We need to get water from this corner to that catch basin. We think we finally ought to be solving that by putting another catch basin or two on adjacent to the building and getting that water under the slab to a catch basin so we can get out of here. So that's important. We might even suggest if we can afford it, like a shade structure or something like that, because it's a wide open little courtyard.
Mr. Angel, when you were speaking and you said windows, I had flashbacks of the problems that we having with our windows. If y'all can figure out whatever's causing those problems, please make sure we don't put them in these windows.
In this building, you mean? Or
No, South Regional, I think, is the one that has a lot of window problems, or Mr.
West,
Angel?
is it west?
Is it?
Bigger building.
Pick one.
West.
what this building has is basically aluminum storefront systems, kind of like the downstairs. So it's really not windows, it's really window walls. There are a couple of areas right here we discovered just at the last meeting that are giving us a little bit of grief, so we're gonna actually change it.
Yeah, I just don't want them, we're gonna spend all this money, I don't want them to have to go through the same thing that other libraries have gone through, if we can avoid it.
Want to walk away and have it new, basically, that's what we're front of
and
it.
enjoy it.
Yeah, and on the site, we don't have any drawings that depict this, but man, do trees grow quickly? Somebody said that earlier. And landscaping, this thing's got a lot of landscaping in it. And you don't think about it when you put it in so much, but it's really grown. Some of it's too close to the building. And, you know, you end up adding mulch every year, and it gets backwards, flow back to the building from rain, and you just don't want that. So we're budgeting some money to really, unfortunately, take out some of the landscaping that has matured. Maybe put new and a little bit further from the building, and one of the most important things is to keep the water from the edge of the building, and that should happen in this book. Okay? We'll present that to you with our final drawings when we come up with the final landscape. It's not all going to be removed, but some of it needs to be. This is a small area where the kaleidoscope room is. It does have an octagonal shaped roof, and this is the main building. It's just obviously a portion of the drawing. But everything here is a flat roof that connects these things. And of course, it's the only roof that's ever really given major grief. So we're going to actually infill it with metal studs and put a metal roof on it as well. So it'll have a positive slope. We are changing all the gutters on the exterior and downspouts. So it ought to be, we want to walk away from it. I guess the next generation can deal with the next 25 years renovation. Interior, we're talking about, again, new carpets. The countertops in the restrooms will be changed. The lavatories will be changed. The toilets will be changed. Even some of the wall tile that's kind of done its time, that's all going to be changed. So you can imagine how the place has been closed. Okay, next. Again, more illustrations of the countertops that will be changed. More noting. You can see these are kind of, you know, somewhat bare drawings. They're going to actually have a lot more detail put on them as we move forward. Illustrate things. Okay, now we get into the more mechanical systems. The building does, like this one does, has a sprinkler system. So where we're modifying rooms, we do need to modify the sprinkler system a bit. No big deal. It's not a big part of the budget, but it has to be done. Okay. Plumbing. Is that what I'm seeing? Yeah, it shows basically our engineer's depiction of where they're going to be telling contractors to change plumbing fixtures. There's really no new. Well, the new plumbing that we have to do when you go to, without boring you to tears, when you go to VRF, those units are actually above the ceiling, like the current units are, but they need plumbing. Current stuff doesn't need plumbing. So we are going to be distributing a little bit of plumbing up above the new ceiling to each one of these units. I'll show you in a minute where they are. Maybe that's the next plan. No, just additional plumbing plans. How many plumbing plans do we have? There you go. So this is an air conditioning kind of demo plan that shows you these are the main duct runs that are above the ceiling right now. And you can see they start in the mechanical rooms, here, and running through here. So all of that's going to get demolished, but we are going to keep the secondary ducts that are feeding all of the registers like these right here. We're going to keep those in place because they can be used. Every single one of these VAV boxes that are above the ceiling are going to be changed basically one for one to the new VRF systems. This is VRF it's not really new anymore, but it's the newer version of how to distribute air in a bigger building like this. Great for libraries. I guess you have it in many of your locations.
At West, that's great.
So this is the location of the new air conditioning units that are above ceilings. So basically, this is the same thing as a mini split. Everybody knows what a mini split is these days. It's the same technology, except it's not a mini split hanging on the wall. It's actually above the ceiling, and you can see we're going to tie it into existing ductwork. Plumbing follows that because they have to be drained. They do produce moisture. That's what air conditioning does. Water and the electrical follows that. Although the electrical to each of the VAV boxes, I think, will be exactly what we need for each one of these. We can go through this line by line, but these are the schedule of of the air conditioning units to make sure we catch positive pressure and all of that in the building that the contractors will use to bid it.
Glad you thought of it.
Pardon me?
I said, I'm glad you thought of it.
Slaughter Woods.
But all of
Oh,
it,
that's-
yeah, the big schedule you had there, I'm glad you thought about all of that.
Amen. Again, more details to show contractors what we're asking for. Next. Now we're getting into electrical, again, the beginning of the electrical drawings. Electrical drawings typically connect all the dots. They're not really the leader of the design, more or less. They're more or less, I got a unit here and I got a light fixture there, let's connect them and let's make it work. So these need development and will get development as we approve these plans and make a little more detailed design on all of these elements. There's not a lot of technological advances that I think the library is needing. We have data, we have internet, we have what we need. But
Do they
I'm sorry.
Do they have enough electrical outlets and stuff in that library for them?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. We have, where we'll, go to the next slide, if you don't mind. We haven't caught up our we made these study room changes just the last 10 days, so our electrical engineers haven't caught up. But where we're breaking down this room and making 2 study rooms, I mean, all of those are gonna get electrical changes, and we'll do outlets where we need them. So. And then new lighting, which will all be LED lighting, which will make this, you should have a fairly significant reduction in electricity costs once this is all done, because the air conditioning units can be way more efficient, and the lighting ought to be a whole lot, because it's all gonna be new LED lights. So that's one of the benefits of doing this.
With the renovation that y'all doing, when I read the reports every month, the thing that catches my eye the most is that the space that they have in there. Lack of space. Is any design in here gonna add bookshelf space,
No.
not just meeting room space?
No, ma'am.
No, but we should be able to add additional bookshelf ranges in the existing space. We have plans for that. I didn't want to add them until this was done, so I wouldn't have to move new shelving, twice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. But they will eventually get more space, bookshelf space.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I'm not exactly sure when, Larry could tell, but, outside of the building has received some attention. We weren't involved, but it's been cleaned, some of the plaster's been coated, looks really good.
Ms. Langeau, all the work we're doing on the HVAC, it being a 25-year-old building, what about the R value in the walls? Is there anything we need to address there?
It would be almost impossible to change the insulation of the walls. We should probably look at the not so much how much insulation we have up there above the ceiling, but what shape that it's in. Although we don't have any real mechanical systems up there that people would disturb on the insulation, but it's a really good question. I'm not even thought about that. You don't really, I mean, the bill is not brand new, but it's not ancient either, so, when we built it, it was well insulated. And I've never really collected utility data on it, but that would be interesting. And we should, because we want to see a reduction. Okay? Well, that's again more beginning portions of the power plant. I'm going to redistribute power where we need it. Okay, next. More circuitry design. And I think that might be it.
Yep.
That's it. From a cost standpoint, we've taken a look at it with our consultants on the renovations. I could go through that again line by line, but basically what we're talking about is we're thinking interior renovation, in addition to the parking lots and the roofing, costing, what is the average? Go down, point it out to you. I guess I better put on my glasses.
$167.45 a square foot.
2,000,001, 2,000,002. This does not include any contingency. Shouldn't have a whole lot of difference between this and the range of bids that we eventually receive, but I would always recommend you have a contingency in mind. The market will tell us what the market will tell us. Things have gotten a whole lot, I think, better in the market over the last couple of years. A little more competition. This will, I think, will be a very attractive job to bid. It's all interior. What are you guys budgeting for a new library these days? You know, per square foot? 500?
450,
Yeah.
something like that.
So, it's a good way to spend your money to get a new lease on life on a building that's, you know, serving its purpose well. So we're proud of it, we're happy to move forward with it, answer any questions or get back to it.
Thank y'all for your time.
Happy to be here. We have a 4-month schedule to get to the next phase, and those are our contracts, I think we're trying to wrap that up quickly. Bring you back a final set and ask for approval and authorization to advertise for bids.
I think my only question is, at what point do we are okay with the alternate parking lot resurface instead of doing the?
That would come after the.
That would, okay, at the point of bidding, you'll have the option to take it or not.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Sargent, one question. We were talking about parking lots. Obviously, your professional expert opinion, it seems like a high cost year over year of so much maintenance. I can't imagine that all these businesses are doing that. Is there some other technology out there that may be a little bit more cost up front that would give us longer life? Or, I mean, it just seems expensive.
Concrete parking lots are, you know, a better way to go if you can afford them. They obviously give you better, if they're done right, better service and longer life than asphalt.
There would be drainage improvements involved with that too. We would want underground drainage for something like that. Because our East Regional Library is concrete and there's not underground drainage and it gets very slimy.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot, actually, in terms, should we include an alternate to like take down that north parking lot, or just take it all the way down and build a new concrete one, like we have down the south. It's got big open areas, so it doesn't, but it just sheet drains right now, it drains. You have to go underground, that would add cost. But that's the solution, it's the best parking lots.
And I apologize, maybe I missed it, but what are the problems that we're really having right now? Is it potholes? Is it, what are we maintaining, I guess is my question, because I didn't hear that, maybe I missed it.
How would you describe them there?
The north parking lot's not terrible. We're just preserving it with a seal coat like we've done previously. So we're extending the life basically. Now the south parking lot is just uneven. It's degrading on the surface. It just needs to be completely redone. And we're gonna do concrete to just permanently solve that problem.
Basically, we just,
Okay,
Basically, we decided that the north parking lot wasn't as bad of a condition and we can get more life out of it by either seal coating or resurfacing it. We did talk about just doing concrete as well, but yeah.
so if you would do the alternate, oh, I can't say that word, I'm sorry, y'all. Thank you. Would you replace it with the same type of material that's already there? Because if you're doing that, then we're gonna have the same issues that we have, and it doesn't make common sense to me.
yeah, I guess you'd have two options. If we went beyond what we have currently planned as a potential would be to tear it all down to the base, which is not in bad shape, we had it tested, and put a new coat of asphalt, which gets you those many couple of decades of life, if it's done well. Or just take the whole doggone thing down and start off with a whole new concrete. Now that's gonna be probably 2 times, 3 times, maybe 4 times the cost, because we've got to start dealing with subsurface drainage. The one thing I should say too is, over the years, there's some drainage improvements that need to happen around that big south parking lot. That some of that parking lot, just in certain areas, is holding a little bit of rainwater. Because it does not have subsurface drainage, so we plan on solving that with.
Let me ask my question in a different way. In the ideal world, if you had your preference, what would be the best type of parking lot to have at that library?
Concrete.
Okay. Is that something that we could look at that would fit in the budget? I'm just curious.
It can fit in the budget, and yes, we can look at that.
And it would be less maintenance, that would help in the long run too, with all kind of things.
You know, by law, you guys have done this many times, you can have up to 3 alternates when you bid a project. Contractors can give you 3 choices, and that could be additional can make that decision based upon real pricing at the time that you're ready to award the contract, so.
Yeah, so
That's not an issue at the moment that we have to decide.
No.
I'm just asking questions.
That's good.
So alternate two could remove alternate one and replace the parking lot with concrete and subsurface drainage. Okay.
Oh, would y'all do that soil testing again? I'm sorry. Would y'all do that soil testing again on the north parking lot?
No, I think that will be neat. They designed it.
So close, it's like, should be the same.
Mr. Kelly had to leave, so I'm going to take over during the meeting. Board members, do you all have any other questions for Mr. Angel?
At this time, thank you.
Thank you, and for the others who are here as well.
Yes.
So the agenda says we may take action. Staff, can you tell us what action, which are you requesting of the board?
I would love for you guys to approve design development phase and authorize moving into construction document phase.
I have a question. I think the manager for the library branch is here this evening. Ms. Chance, would you like to address the board since you're here?
I'm here as a private citizen and I only speak as a private citizen.
Okay. Okay, so.
I'll move as Mr. Angel spoke about the approval of the design and moving on to the construction phase.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments?
Miss Mary Liv Garcia.
This is very helpful, Mary Liv Garcia. And my question is not about construction directly. It's about the fact that the library will have to be closed. And I just wondered if there's been consideration by staff, I'm sure there has, and the board about how you're going to handle that continuation of services and provision and where you're going to shift those services. So that's my question, basically.
Actually, that's a great question because I was thinking the same thing. How does it affect our patrons?
I think we've had a discussion of that before, but maybe Mr. Delaney can.
We're gonna reach out to Karen Crow to find out if we can rent some space in their community center, which is right across the parking lot, to provide some service, but we're looking for alternatives. The worst case scenario is it's closed for a few months.
That was not, but do we have an expectation as far as the amount of time it would take? General.
Yeah. Let's say max 6 months, maybe. A lot of work.
That's it.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. I'll vote all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item for business is the library book discards. The board will be asked to take action related to the disposition of books. In the packet, I believe we have a proposed motion.
I'd like to motion that for the library to discard 2,297 books having been out of use for over a year due to the books being superseded, obsolete, unused, or otherwise unnecessary.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second.
No comments.
So the board, we can vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Next, library positions. Board will be asked to approve changing 2 part-time library associate 1 positions to full-time positions. Mr. Galani?
We have a position at the West Regional Library that's part-time and a position at the North Regional Library that's part-time. The managers at both libraries had indicated that they could use a full-time position. These positions, when the West Regional position just became vacant, the North Regional position has been vacant for a while. When managers helped figure out how to balanced budget, and when we closed on Sundays and figuring out staffing and what we actually needed. They worked really hard, and in some cases, we might have been a little over-enthusiastic. But no services have been hurt. This is mainly to make dealing with the business at those libraries a little easier on the remaining staff. The cost for both of these positions to be moved from part-time to full-time is a total of about $40,000 a year, money that we definitely can afford.
Okay, any board discussion?
So therefore, two separate branches, correct?
Yes, sir.
Danny, are the current part-time employees just going to become full-time employees?
Both of the positions are vacant. The West Regional position just became vacant, and the North Regional position for a while had been listed as something we weren't going to try to fill. I'm presuming because it was part-time, but I'm not sure if that was marked that way before I became director. It's very difficult to change a position from part-time to full-time when it's occupied.
Any more discussion? Any other discussion? Obviously, there's a need, and we have the money to do so. I do appreciate the cuts that the staff have made previously in order to get us out of the red. So, trusting that you guys know what your needs are, I'm going to move that we do change to part-time library associate 1 positions to full-time positions.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments?
No comments.
We have a motion and a second. The board will now vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item for business is the West Regional Library. Board will be asked to move forward with driveway parking lot work to connect to Apollo Road.
So when West Regional was built, the intent was to have a connector to both Apollo Road and that other road. Spanish Trail.
Spanish Trail.
That's 90, that's Highway 90.
No, that's
Yeah,
Spanish
Spanish
Trail.
Trail, that other road. Apollo Road wasn't done at the time, so we couldn't do it. We have the money in the budget for West Regional still in the construction budget, and we would like to finish. And as part of that also, the engineer from Public Works suggests that we widen the entrance on Spanish Trail a little bit to make it a more pleasant in and out.
So this was always in the works? pretty much?
Yes.
Oh. Well,
And we have the money for it.
Yes, the money's still in the West Regional construction budget.
Even the expansion, the widening of the road was in the plans too? Always in the plans or?
No.
It's just something recent?
It's something we can cover, obviously, but if you were to drive into that entrance, you would see nothing but tire marks on the curbs. For some reason, it's narrow or the turn radius is tight for trash trucks or fire trucks. It's just really tight. And we want to limit any liability and just, limit the amount of painting on those curbs, and we want to just address that issue while we're doing that type of work.
Oh, Mr. Onshaw, you don't have to ask me twice. There was some work when they were redoing a road near my home, and I was one of those tire marks on there until I guess they had enough complaints and they fixed it. So you got my vote.
Okay, I'll make a motion to move forward with the driveway park. I'm sorry, did you?
Yeah, just one question. Are there any, where the new addition is going to be, are there any drainage considerations or anything that we have to worry about, or has that already all been looked at?
Correct. The Public Works Department, actually, the engineer is here tonight listening in. She did all that legwork with the city of Scott and any other requirements. Because we have to add culverts under the driveway, we also have to, I guess, expand our retention ponds to account for that added, would you like to speak, Ms. Carolyn? Yeah. Ms. Carolyn Chapman from Public Works. She's our engineer for this project.
Thank you for coming.
No, I love being here. So the way that it currently flows, the Cooley Oldacon is right on the other side of Apollo Road. So currently we have weir systems that just kind of fill up the roadside ditch and pour over into this area. The entirety of kind of just outside of along Old Spanish Trail and Apollo is in a flood zone, and that requires a no-net fill, which means I can't go put dirt in this area without taking it out. So I have to put culverts to be able to maintain flow of the roadside ditch along Apollo Road, and I'll need to fill that in enough to bring it up to grade. Thankfully, Apollo Road and the parking lot are about at the correct elevation, so it's basically going to be flat. But because of that, I am still working with the city of Scott. I have an email and a phone call into the city of Scott to discuss this, as well as on the north side where Old Spanish Trail meets, we are going to potentially have to move and or kind of reroute a water line on that side. So there's a lot kind of going on behind the scenes. So I put in a contingency into the cost estimate for this project to account for it, and I also highballed some of the cost based on the cost that we did in 2017-ish when this library was built, and just my discussion with that engineer. But that should be relatively all in. Also, the cost estimate does, Mr. Angel and Mr. Galeen had asked me to add in costs for restriping the parking lot. That is with thermoplastic. It would potentially be different if we just chose to paint it, but that's kind of the 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
So there's an additional 13,000 in contingency above the 45,000?
The 45,000 is only for the movement of the water line, and that is a very expensive, and
What size water line?
that is a 12-inch water line. It's a main, and we're gonna have to, if that is a necessity, which it probably is, because they didn't move it enough when they did the original driveway or entrance and exit to the parking lot. They didn't move it enough out of the way, which I'm still trying to get clarification on. But the 13,000 is just 10% of the entirety of the cost.
Okay, so then I have a question. Just like, can you go back to the picture? Sure. Seeing as how prohibitively expensive that water line is, why would we not just do some work on the median in the middle and widen that lane toward the median? Is there a code that says we have to have a median that size, or?
No, sir. So I did discuss that with Mr. Angel. However, a very expensive sign is there, along with the lighting and the electrical that is within that median. So the lights that shine on the sign are basically right up against the curb, so we would need to move that. I don't know that and there's also like trees in that median. So it would take some finagling, and I don't know that we would get enough. Okay, so the reason that the radius is good on it, but the problem is fire trucks and everything, they can't swing out. Old Spanish Trail is very thin, so they can't swing out to try and make that turn. So I don't know that we would actually get enough space by doing what we would need to do to the median without taking out your expensive sign and not having the electrical where it needs to be. So it's something that we are kind of looking at, but
Can I ask you a question?
absolutely.
Can I, please? Okay, the water line, as we're looking at this, the water line's to the left of the driveway, is that correct?
The water line is below the driveway.
When you say below the driveway?
That's that 15
Yes, so
Is it
15
running
inch equivalent
is it
are
running parallel to Old Spanish Trail or the driveway?
parallel to Old Spanish Trail.
Okay, so it's just a cross that we gotta make. And so it's dealing, if we make that driveway wider, we're gonna have to deal with that water main, whether we go to the left or right of the driveway. In other words, if we expand the driveway to the right, we gotta deal with the water line. If we expand it to the left, we have to deal with the water line. Is that correct?
Correct, but
Okay.
if you expand the driveway to the right, you have a huge telephone pole, and that would require movement of more utilities.
Okay, yeah, I can't see.
No,
that.
I know. I'm intimate with it, so that's why.
The reason I was asking the question, you were talking about a water line, but it wasn't clear to me that the water line was parallel to Old Spanish Trail.
Understood, yes, sir. So
Okay.
it is parallel, and what happened when they built the driveway is it's low enough to be, it's like far enough below grade where it's fine, but it's not far enough when you adding in traffic. So what they did is, if you can imagine, this is the road and this is the water line, what they did is they came in and they put elbows and brought it down like this, but they only went 5 feet outside of the driveway. So we would basically need to go 10 feet and then drop it and bring it down to the same elevation that the rest of that water line is on.
Can I ask, why did they place the driveway right there? Is it because they have space on the other side for large vehicles like fire trucks to swing out to the right or to the left?
I cannot speak for the engineer and or the architect, but
I believe this design accounted for future expansion in parking and building.
All right, I have a question. I'll throw this out too. If we're gonna put a driveway, if we can move the slide up, please. If we're gonna put a driveway on Apollo Road, is it possible to make that driveway a little bit larger that would incorporate the heavier trucks, and that way that one doesn't need to be expanded?
That's a good question.
so that one is going to be plenty large, especially because it is right in, right out. You cannot take a left turn out of this new
Right.
driveway.
Right.
So it is going to be beneficial in that aspect. However, your dumpsters are on the other side. And the reason, again, I cannot speak for the architect or the engineer here, they put it that way is so that way it could come in and back in to the spot to pick up the dumpsters and dump them into the dump truck. And then, I guess
You still gotta turn around and go back.
you do have to turn around at some point, but coming in from this way, they would have to back in to get to the dumpsters. Does that make sense?
Well,
If they came
yeah,
in from over here,
Just make a U around in and back into it.
I mean, it's not unreasonable, but
They're not a drive 18-wheeler.
I don't disagree. But
Are the dumpsters, the front load dumpsters because the garbage truck should be driving into the dumpster, not backing
Oh,
up?
yeah, that's true.
So it really works very well, it's a great
Yeah, the
suggestion.
form-
they are the front way.
Yeah, so it's a great suggestion for them to just access the parking lot this way. And I think in conjunction, and I think what we're trying to do is get away from a $45,000 change for a water line. 4 or 5 feet would be substantial for automobiles, smaller vehicles, and really even for a garbage truck. 4 or 5 feet of additional space is quite a bit. Would we be able to squeak by and not have to make that change, or is it still too close?
It's kind of a weird situation that would require more engineering, which is fine, but the way pressure distribution acts is at a 45-degree angle. Typically, it depends on the type of soils, but can't, so it would depend, and I would need to speak with the water company on that. 10 feet is what that's what I did there. It all really boils down to actually not an engineer, it boils down to the water company. It says, you can or you can't do this. So, 4 to 5 feet would put us right at that elbow, which may or may not work. So.
Okay, so the driveway was put there, right there for future growth. What are we gonna be building and where will it be put?
I'd have to get the original plans for you, but I can do that for you.
Well, I'd like to know before I make my decision, because if it's a parking lot right there on that side for some future expansion, and move that driveway to the right.
You're still gonna have to, if you move that driveway, you still gotta touch that water main. Yeah, no
Well,
matter,
I think she had said the electric pole would be in the way, just move it a little bit more.
oh,
Oh, you're saying
well,
move,
then you,
It's if you move it east, if you
If you
move the
move it
driveway
east,
east, you run into the electrical pole, so that's a non-starter.
shift the
You
median
gotta
too.
move it to the west.
so the problem is not with the exit, which is, the problem is with the entrance. That's why I'm only expanding it on that western side. People coming out can easily make a left turn or a right turn because you're coming in from a straight shot. It's the people that are coming in really from the west trying to come in, and it's my understanding that the fire trucks and like larger vehicles that you would want access to a public facility are having the problem.
Okay.
And one of my concerns, Ella, is every time we don't do something, if we do come back in 2 years and we have to do it, that $45,000 water main moving, I don't even want to guess.
No,
what it's
I
gonna be.
understand that.
So just for clarity, just to throw that out there, in 2017, to do this move, to move this water line, and, well, it's the same water line, but on two other driveways down the way, it was a total of $50,000 in 2017. So.
And now the price tag is?
I am assuming $45,000 just for one side of one driveway.
But before it was 50 for both.
It was 50 for both driveways at 3 both, like a total lowering at 3 locations.
What was the total distance total amount of pipe or distance of the pipes you had to move? I'm just
I
trying to
would
figure
say
out.
close to 100, I would say close to 30, maybe 100 feet.
Okay.
And now we're just trying to move it 10 feet out of the way.
Did I,
Go ahead.
did I hear you correctly? Did you say this may or may not work? If it doesn't work, then where do we go from there? And how much more will it cost us?
No, it's not that it won't work. It absolutely will work. It's if Scott approves it. So Scott could tell us, absolutely not, you're not touching our water line again, and that's their prerogative. However, I feel like they might, but they would have some certain restraints and constraints on it because it is a 12-inch water main. It feeds a lot of people, and so they'd say, well, you can't do it during school at all, period, because we're not shutting down the water line during school because it would. I don't want to like bore you with with everything that it would require, but like taking out a 12-inch water main is it takes a lot to kind of shut it over, even for a day or two that this would take place. But I can still evaluate the movement of and removal of the median if you guys so choose.
I would like to just, and I guess to talk through that, I just pulled up kind of Google Maps, and I don't know if Larry, maybe you could do that real quick, and then drop a little guy over on that side of the road so everybody can see it. But I think there could be some sort of a path where maybe we work with the city, and if we could go over 2 or 2.5 feet towards that elbow, and then maybe take 2.5 or 3 feet towards the sign, because there's a substantial amount of distance. Because it is a big, beautiful marquee. I mean, it is a gorgeous marquee. and maybe we could kind of work in between those, and then put in a sign, you know, construction vehicles, larger vehicles use the other entrance. Because really it serves them better, because at this point it looks like they have to come in, go into the parking lot, turn around, and come back to the trash, you know, the dumpsters to dump, and then leave.
I'm wondering if the new, and to that, it goes to that point, the new driveway, because it's wide enough, and they can only make a right in and a right out, and they can still access what they need to access, and it gets them into the building, actually closer to the building, they may abandon that driveway altogether. Because if that's the only driveway, and that is the only driveway on Old Spanish Trail,
Yep.
then, and that's the only driveway into the library, then they don't have any choice right now but to use that one. But if you have both of those, and this one on Apollo is much larger, then it would seem that they would, I'm gonna try, if I'm driving a big truck, I'm not gonna try to use that little skinny driveway, I'll go around. It's much easier. And I can make a U on Apollo if I go down a little bit, I can come down and make a U.
I think you're right, and thank you for coming. I know we're really kind of driving this, but I think $45,000 is ludicrous, quite honestly.
Look, Larry and I had the same conversation. It seems exorbitant, but.
So where, can you kind of give us an idea of where that water main is running here on it? Because obviously it's really wide. Is the main going where it's the narrowest, and that's why we gotta go, or is it closer to the road, so maybe we don't have to go there?
It's probably about where the drainage ditch is. If you could follow that, that's my understanding. I haven't called one call and like been out there, but my understanding is it's just on the back side of the ditch. So perfect. You can see the fire hydrant. If you just follow that line all the way, it's going to be a little bit off based on the type of fire hydrant. It's going to be off one way or the other because there's an offset. But
So those tire marks right there are from them coming in?
correct.
Yes.
And it looks a lot worse now.
So let me ask this question. I mean, realistically, as I saw it, it was coming in about right here. We could probably get 2 or 3 feet and still be with the existing curb if we just straighten out that radius and really kind of help that, because obviously it's extremely wide because the radius is so wide, and they're still jumping curves. I probably made it 50 feet wide, they'll probably still jump it a little bit, but, and then if we could maybe reclaim some going towards them, I just think we need to look at it a little closer personally.
Take away some of the median and on the backside.
If you take this median and you bring it up here and chop this here, and then just come like this with it, that gives them that radius to come around and swing a little bit wider.
And cut off some of the back part of the median too.
Yeah, but that seems to be a little, it's pretty, but not functioning well.
Do you have any comments based on board comments just now?
No, I think those are great comments, and I can definitely put together something for the next board meeting if you guys would like. And this is very high level and after a long day of work, but I can look into that and see what I can pull from the as-built, and if there's any conflicts with any utilities or anything within the median. But I don't see an issue right now.
And I know that agenda item just says the Apollo Road entrance, so if we're all okay with the Apollo Road driveway, can we approve that one?
Sure.
And then table the Spanish Trail?
I'll bring that back to the board next month with some ideas and tweaks and suggestions. You want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to do what I just said.
To move forward with the driveway parking lot work to connect to Apollo Road?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Is there, I'm sorry, before we move, is there any value in letting you reevaluate that second phase and move forward concurrently as opposed to us approving one piece and not the other? We don't want to double work you. I know you've already put a lot into this.
What I would say is that it's probably, you're not going to hire multiple contractors to do one versus the other. I would not recommend that on any day. So it really wouldn't matter one way or the other, whatever you guys would prefer. But I do know that, especially with the situation of the only driveway, that we want to get this driveway moving as soon as y'all are willing and able to do so. So it's not going to take a lot to do that. So just
The library closes in 30 minutes.
So then, to clarify,
It's 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I would recommend being one project,
Yeah.
like Karen said. You've got to go through the bidding process, it's one project.
it's a lot.
It's the same
to
type
go
of work,
through.
yeah, it's
And if that's the
exhausting.
case, if we're gonna move it to the next meeting, we could just do the whole thing the next meeting.
Yeah,
Okay, so withdraw your motion.
I'd like to withdraw my motion.
sorry.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so the motion's withdrawn, so that was just discussion, and we'll have that at the next meeting as an agenda item. Item E, new business board meetings. Board will consider and adopt the proposed 2025 regular board meeting schedule. Mr. Lane had already sent this to us previously, making the adjustments that have been customary this year and prior years. Board members, do you have any questions? I'll make a motion to accept.
You second that?
There's a motion and a second. Ms. Davis, are there any
No,
comments?
thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Lost books. Board will be asked to take action related to how the library deals with lost and paid for books. Mr. Glenn?
So, right now, if you lose a book and you pay for it, you have 6 months to find the book, bring it back, and get your money back. But you don't get all of your money back. So you pay a $5 processing fee, you pay the overdue fines that you would have owed, and you fill out some paperwork. So the process essentially is you lose a book and you decide you're gonna pay for it, and then you find it within that 6 months, and you come back into the library and you have the book, and you fill out some paperwork. And then our staff at the circulation desk prints out some documentation to go with the paperwork you signed. Then it goes to the business office, then it comes to me for signature. Then we send it to Lafayette's accounting department, and the accounting department issues a paper check, which they put in an envelope, and they mail to you. I have, on occasion, signed multiple of these refunds that totaled $2 or $3 each. So the amount of labor going into this process just seems like a lot. So what we would like is to, if you pay for the book, the process is over. So you can keep the book. If you owe us money for a book, when you reach a certain amount of money, we won't let you check out books, but you can pay down on that, and eventually you would own the book. And so if you put $5 towards your outstanding bills, we let you check out books, and the next time you come, if you want to check out books, you put another $5 towards your outstanding bills. That's been the way we handle things since before I was ever hired here. We would like it to move to a, you pay for the book, you own the book, transaction over.
I'll move.
I second that.
Ms. Dandy, is that a hard policy?
That is not an actual policy, but when we were trying to decide whether or not to make the change a few years ago, Larry spent a good amount of effort figuring out that it was a board-approved, we're going to call it a policy, but it was not ever written in a policy. It was just the board had to approve it, and so I couldn't just change it. I needed the board to approve changing it.
Thank you. Real quick, what determines the value of the book?
What we paid for the book.
So
That's essentially what we paid for the book, minus $5 for the processing that we pay to have on the book, barcode, the cover, the call number and stuff. And then additionally, there's a maximum overdue fine for a book. So if the book's $10, you're gonna get $5 back because you don't get the processing fee back. And then you're gonna owe us $2 in fines, so you get $3 back.
I have to admit, I lost the book. And I went to South Regional, and I said, I had a fine. I said, I lost the book. How much does it cost? And he told me I paid him the money for the book. I own it. I mean, I just naturally assumed once I paid for the book, it was mine.
We have a cookbook at our house that apparently we got that way.
So I'm trying to figure out why, in the good Lord's name, we would go through all of that paperwork and people's time and effort to write a $2 check.
That's been on the books a long time.
Yeah, that's, okay. So anyway, I've made a motion.
Okay, so if we pass this motion, will it be written down as policy, so we don't have to be clear?
It will be recorded in the same way that it was recorded the first time that we said you had 6 months. So yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table. Any comments?
Yes. Lynette Mejia?
I waive.
She waits. No comments.
Any comments? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that's all for new business. Announcements, reminder that the next library board meeting will be on Monday, October 17th, 2024. Northeast Library Committee is gonna hopefully meet on October 3rd.
Which is, I'm sorry, October 17th is a Thursday.
Oh, yeah, is that
So is it-
No, that's the original date for the Northeast Library committee meeting, but we're trying to get an earlier meeting with the consultant to go over a few things.
Okay.
October 21st.
October
I'm sorry.
21st. Okay, no problem. So let me restate that. The next library board meeting will be Monday, October 21st. And also a reminder, yearly ethics training and sexual harassment training must be completed before December 31st, or by December 31st, 2024. And last things, comments from the public on any other library matter not on this agenda.
Melanie Champagne?
Good evening, Melanie Champagne, Lafayette Parish. I'll be quick tonight. Kind of wanted to rewind a little bit to back when you guys made some library mission statement changes. Specifically, I want to kind of peel back the decision that this board made to remove the words diverse, free, and equal. Diverse community, free, and equal. It logically follows that by removing these words, that the library would not be free, it would not be equal, and it would be less diverse. This type of stewardship of a public library in 2024 feels egregious. And it has gone a little bit silent. It hasn't been talked about in this meeting. I can't express to you how much I hope that you think about how hurtful this is to the community, particularly because you did it against majority wishes of the community and because you provided no rationale. And so I would ask, for the sake of those who are most affected by removing such words like free and diverse and equitable, that you reconsider this policy. At the very least, you provide some rationale as to why such words were removed from a public library mission statement. I think that sounds fair. I think that sounds reasonable. And I think that sounds like a moral decision and moral imperative, that you provide such reasoning taken off these words. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Champagne.
Mary Liv Garcia?
I'm going to put on my Northeast Library Advisory hat for just a minute. The only reason that I get credit is because I reported what I've done. So I'm sure that the other members of the committee have been doing some outreach in their respective neighborhoods and areas. But there is a fairly short window for us, even though it's not defined with a deadline. It still is a very truncated period of time in which we have to do the logistics of getting out into the community and obtaining input. I have worked across Facebook medians and as many sources as I could, because I don't live in Northeast Lafayette, but I'm trying to reach out, excuse me, to people that I know who do and to work through them. To that end, it was suggested to me by someone who is in marketing that possibly the library could develop just a flyer that at the very least would outline the process whereby members of the public could submit ideas. I know that the dates are a moving target until we meet with the consultant, but I do think that it is within the scope of the work of the committee that we have some assist like this. These could go in businesses, it could go in schools and excuse me, other areas, so that the community could see it. It would be more visible, and it would be kind of a silent outreach. So I would like to ask that maybe, because of the brevity of time, that the board consider doing something like that to help us have greater visibility in the community. Thank you.
End of comments.
Okay. So no other comments? Any board members would like to make any comment?
I have a comment. I do want to say thank you to Mr. Gillane and his staff. They did give us a binder with policies. Some of them have been updated with decisions that board recently approved, but there are some that still have the old language. And if we're going to be consistent, and I know a disclaimer has been put on the library's website, but I'd still like the wording in the policies to reflect the decisions of the board. So I'm going to be bringing back some stuff at the October meeting regarding that. If it has not been updated, I'm sure y'all will look at it, and if it's done, I don't have to bring it up. But there is one thing that I want to bring to the board to change is in the collection development policy underneath the library and its community. It has statistics, and when y'all were doing the director's search, you had brought up some new statistics that you had brought to the December meeting, and we had changed things, but they're not reflected in the policy. I would like to bring it back in October to take the statistics out in a way so that we don't have to revisit it every year to change the numbers if they change. So I just wanted to let you know that I will be bringing some of that back to the board.
I'd like to make just two comments. Number one, the modesty shields are really nice. Whoever did that, thank you very much. Larry, I enjoyed the water too, thank you. But more importantly, I had the opportunity to work with some of the library staff recently in regards to the assistant director position. And I just want to comment on how I appreciated the professionalism and the acumen that everyone that I worked with displayed, and just did a phenomenal job. I believe that a good decision was made for our library, and so I was certainly impressed and appreciated our staff and all that they've done to continue to make sure that we can serve our patrons in a very worthy manner of what the people in our community deserve. So Danny, Ms. Tongel, everybody there, please pass that on. I certainly appreciated that process.
Any other comments on the board? Mr. Judge, would you close this in there?